Hello everyone. I've just been watching the opening ceremony of the Rio de Janeiro Paralympics. But during the segment where the Brazilian national anthem was played, it got me thinking about our national anthem, which is of course "God Save the Queen." Firstly, a quick word about the opening ceremony. It was a bit briefer than the Olympic opening ceremony, but I enjoyed it. I thought it was well done. I thought it was a very relaxing sort of format. I enjoyed the whole beach segment. I thought that was very colourful. And I think the Brazilians are great at, really tapping into the vibrancy of life. So I'll give them credit for that. Okay, so national anthems are obviously an important part of a country's identity because they're used in every major international event, particularly in sporting events. Um, in fact, the athletes' procession is ongoing right now as I speak. Um, the current British national anthem, "God Save Our Queen," has slightly obscure origins. No one knows exactly when this began. Some sources attribute it to the tune is attributed to a piece written by John Bull in 1619. It was first adopted as a national anthem around 1745, but again, this was not clearly defined. It's sort of one of those things, a bit like the office of Prime Minister, that over time kind of became associated as the national anthem. Now, in my opinion, it needs to change, and if some of my fellow Britons think I'm being unpatriotic, just a few words about that. Firstly, I believe that one of the main parts of democracy is freedom of expression, including the right to dissent. So that's fundamentally what this is about. I'm not actually speaking from a Republican perspective, and I don't hate the tune. It's not that I hear it and I cringe. Um, I don't dislike it. I just think that there's two principal reasons why I think we need to change our national anthem. Number one, I do think it is a bit boring. I just don't think it captures the gravitas of what I believe. Call me biased, but I believe the United Kingdom is a great, great country. I love this country. And I just don't think our national anthem really encompasses that spirit of pride. Compared to other national anthems, I just find it a bit boring. When I listen to the American national anthem, when I listen to the Russian national anthem, the French, the German, the Italian, the Chinese. There's many other national anthems. There's some that are not, so riveting either. But I think we could do better. I just don't think it's a particularly riveting tune. The second issue, this is quite important. A large part of the verses within our national anthem. In fact, most people don't know the full version, but the whole first verse is basically taken up with, let's face it, adulation of an individual person. Now, like I said, this is not coming from a Republican perspective. I'm broadly in favour of constitutional monarchy. I believe it is an extremely important part of our heritage. And for the time being, I'm very happy to have the Queen as head of state. Um, we'll see what happens under King Charles III or King George VII, depending on what title he takes. I like him personally. I think he's a decent man who's done a lot for environmental awareness. But the point is, I'm not speaking from the point of view of a hardcore Republican. I just think that it sends out a message that the British adulate an individual. And this country is about so much more than the Queen. With all due respect to Her Majesty, the United Kingdom is not just about the Queen. No other national anthem that I can think of focuses so much on an individual, except, frankly, in tin pot dictatorships. And even there, it's not always about an individual. So I think it sends out something of the wrong message. And it's worth noting that in other Commonwealth countries, with the exception of New Zealand, although they have the Queen as head of state, for example, Canada, Australia, they have independent national anthems. Now, I just think it sends out the message that we are adulating an individual. And like I say, the United Kingdom should be about much more than one individual. It's slightly it taps into the notion of a personality cult, which actually we don't have in this country, I'm pleased to say, but it lends notion to that. And I think that's misguided. Um, I think that, so then the follow up question is, well, what alternatives are there? Well, actually, about 10 years ago, I don't know if it was in the Rugby World Cup or another event, but English people specifically were asked to choose if they wanted an English national anthem, and apparently a majority decided that they would prefer, in that case, they chose Jerusalem over God Save Our Queen. Now, Jerusalem's a beautiful piece of music, and I think it would be great for an English national anthem. The United Kingdom is divided into four home nations. Jerusalem would be great for England. But what I'm looking at is the whole United Kingdom, for example, played at international events like Team GB in the Olympics, or, for example, in boxing matches when it's a British fighter or whatever. It needs to be a piece of music that encompasses all four home nations, so it's somewhat neutral in that sense. And looking at various pieces that are out there, one piece that does come to mind is Land of Hope and Glory. It was composed by Sir Edward Elgar and with lyrics by, I believe it was A.C. Benson in 1902. And that is a fantastic piece of music. I do believe it's very stirring. Rule Britannia is another piece that could be pondered on. The only thing with Rule Britannia is it could perhaps be seen as somewhat archaic. It lends much more into the notion of empire and the British Empire that no longer exists. So perhaps it isn't the most appropriate. But Band of Hope and Glory, if you listen to it, it's a fantastic piece of music, and I can really see it as a national anthem. Obviously, it's a long piece of music, so it wouldn't be like we're not going to play the whole thing on an Olympic podium, but certainly the first few verses at least, I do think it would be preferable to God Save Our Queen. Obviously, this is a big, big thing, the concept of changing a national anthem. And it's quite rare that countries change that drastically. For example, when New Zealand was contemplating changing their flag design, that never went ahead. This might sound strange, but I actually felt it would have been nice for them to go and choose that new black and white design. Even though I'm very happy with my brothers and sisters in New Zealand being part of the Commonwealth family, the flag is very similar to Australia, and obviously that's up to people in New Zealand to decide. But I'm somewhat surprised they didn't choose to change it. So yeah, that's just my thoughts. This is not coming from a lack of patriotism. In fact, if anything, it's coming from pro-patriotism because I believe that we need a tune that sums up the greatness of this country, and I just don't think God Save the Queen does. So let me know if you agree with me. If you disagree, that's fine. But as usual, please keep it respectful. Um, And also, if you're from another country, what do you think of your own national anthem? Do you like your national anthem? Do you believe it could change? Um, Incidentally, I Vowed to Leave My Country was based on lyrics by Cecil Mary Rice, who was actually at the time the American ambassador to the Court of St. James in the United Kingdom. So it was an American composer, composed in 1921. Beautiful piece of music. So we have many to choose from. Jerusalem is a beautiful piece of music. The only reason I wouldn't choose Jerusalem as a national piece of music is that it's only about England. So Scotland, Northern and Ireland and Wales are on the sidelines. You don't really get that with Land of Hope and Glory. And like I said, Rule Britannia, again, great piece of music, but somewhat archaic in a way that Land of Hope and Glory I don't think is. Incidentally, Land of Hope and Glory is always used at the last night of the proms. So there you have it. That's why I believe, perhaps in time for the next monarch, we need to change this. And it wouldn't be a snub against King Charles the Third. It would be simply a reflection that we're a nation of 65 million people. And I think it's inappropriate to focus so much on one individual. I mean, the Americans don't, sing about the president. The French don't sing about their president. The Chinese don't sing about their president, who are the respective heads of state. And as far as I know, even other monarchies don't. I mean, Norway, Sweden, the Netherlands, as far as I know, their national anthems are not adulating their monarchs. So, with all due respect to Queen Elizabeth II, I just don't think it's appropriate to focus so much on one individual. Let me know your thoughts. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Why? And that's it. Best wishes to all the Paralympians in Rio de Janeiro. I hope they match the medal hauls that they done in the Olympics. And thank you for watching.